Welcome everybody to another episode of our podcast Strategiewerkstatt or Hitchhiker's Guide through Strategy. Today with me is Krisztina Kalo. But before I jump into the topic, Krisztina, what are you doing? Who are you? And what keeps you awake at night?
Hello, everyone. My name is Krisztina Kalo. I'm originally coming from Hungary. Was born in Budapest, lived in Finland 13 years, and my first degree is about programming, my second degree is about management, and right now I'm an engineering head of at Frequentis.
So tech and management and everything together. The topic we discussed in our pre was mindset shift, especially in a transformation. Yeah, let's dive in. Where do you see mindset shifts along a transformation journey?
Transformation in itself is a tricky topic, in my opinion, because humans don't like change. That's a fact. This is a psychological fact. When we would like to change the way of working in any kind of organization, let it be from an already agile to a different agile or waterfall to agile, people will at the beginning oppose to it because they like how things are. And this is not something to say it's a negative topic. Once again, we are humans. We oppose the change. The mind and our brain wants us to keep us safe. And because of that, this is what's happening. The mindset change is a tricky thing because once your mindset has shifted, as you would be part of a change, you can implement really tricky things. Before that, you cannot implement almost anything. I have gone through several transformations in my career. And at the previous workplace, this transformation around half a year was when the biggest opposers' mindset have changed and it started to roll. Because usually the people who have the biggest voice in an organization against the change, once they have the buy-in, what is a mindset? Mindset is, I don't want this. Why would I do this? This doesn't bring me any benefit. It was good as we have been doing it before, and it keeps going on and on. And the mind at some point says, there is maybe something for me in it. Maybe, let's try it. And the moment that person who is the biggest opposer changes over to, yeah, this is good, then anything is doable.
So apart from the biggest opposer saying, like turning around and saying, hey, this is good, what are other signs you see when this like mindset shift starts to happen and you could potentially step into a next gear and speed up things? What signs do you see?
I'm happy that you asked that because as a transformation leader at that point, at the beginning, you might go into the decision to push harder and people oppose more and more, and you have to take the speed back. And the moment you take the speed back and keep it a little bit more silent, this is when these opposers come to you. And you told me something the other day, which keeps me awake. What do you mean the backpack with our finite? What backpack are you talking about? Analogy is a really nice tool, I have noticed. Meaning, for example, transforming tasks into a Kanban board. Everybody brings their tasks with them. It doesn't matter which kind of method they are using. They have their tasks. Their tasks will not just change from one day to another. They have their backpack full of tasks. And what do we do with them? How do we prioritize them? How do we make them visible? And this was a turning point when I managed to get the interest of this person. What's in that backpack? What backpack, in fact? And then it turned out it's his tasks. It's his view to his tasks. And he can open the backpack the way he wants. And when the freedom was also seen that the new way of working maybe gives more freedom of choosing which one I take from the backpack first, then the shift started to happen slowly. So you need to find a common tone with another person who is not seeing yet the benefit of the change. And that common tone can be anything. In this case, it was an analogy of a backpack.
Analogies, which is also with an analogy, you can make it somehow visual, use a different language, so that it's not about the work packages anymore. It's about something in your backpack, and all of a sudden your mind starts to shift into thinking about it differently. I like that idea of like with images, with analogies, with different stories in that change. I've been through change myself, like when things around me changed. In one company I worked, I think in 6 or 7 years, I worked for 6 or 7 different organizational structures. We went from central to back and forth. So there was instant change happening. But I was also in that seat of leading change for an organization with 4,500 people in a lean and leadership transformation. What, from your experience, is this point where working with this one person that really also sucks all of your time, sucks all of your energy, like this one opposing force? What's the moment when you stop doing that? What's the moment when you step out and say, now there was enough energy sucked from that side? we have to find a different way to proceed.
I think we all feel it as leaders, don't we? When some process or way of working together with someone hits the wall, you need to channel that work into different formats. I took a step back and I was the one pushing the change towards this person. And I said, "Oh, it's getting really negative feedback, which is not good for the other people in the team. Let's take a step back and let this person be. Let him be angry. Let him be opposing. And let's listen to the others." I asked the other people what they think about it. Utilize the retrospect. So I had the retrospectives and the backlog planning meetings where this person who was angry and didn't want the change could speak to the others. The others helped me communicating the benefits. So I asked the others, what do you He says this is completely useless. What do you think? When other people formulated with their own words what they think about the new way of doing things, totally, that also, of course, it's a different point of view. We are all different human beings with different experience, with different backgrounds, maybe different language skills, because at that time I didn't speak German at all. Or I have heard them afterwards speaking in German in the cafe area, because naturally when people then get interested in, then they talk to each other. And this is how you can transfuse the conversation to other channels, not only on one-on-one, when the click has already what happened and the interest is there. I must say that there are some people who cannot take the change and they leave. In my case, in my team, nobody left. I'm very proud of that. But in other teams, there were some people who said, no, I cannot work like this. I just want to work the old way. And they left the company. So this also can happen.
So what you said two things, and I want to highlight one thing first. You said this person then started talking at the coffee machine, and this points to more unofficial or informal communication. I don't want to say methods, but areas, cafeteria, overlap on the way to work, in the sub or in the bus. Do you, when you think about change and maybe future change initiatives happening, do you plan for unofficial communication as well?
Actually, yes, I have it in this case as well. This person and myself, we were in the same age group, let's put it that way. And so we had experience with similar beginners computers like TOP 34 and Commodore 64. I realized the parallelism of our experience and had lunch with him several times during this time, which maybe helped a little bit to align that I'm actually not the enemy. I'm not the one who wants to take away his playground. I'm not the one who wants to change his, and I'm the one who actually experienced similar history, and I see still the benefit in this change. So I put in some of those comments into those conversations as however, I really like the top and the Commodore 64, and he did too. So I think it's also possible to find common ground, not necessarily computers, but whatever it can be, hobbies, music, whatever, during lunchtime, which then help you in your work to somehow soften the situation with the transformation, because we are in the end all human.
We are all humans. What you did in the end, you really empathized with that person, right? You found common ground. You sought something that interests that person and yourself so that you can share experience, can share stories, share these like campfire moments. That's what I like to speak about often. So when we build culture, when we build a system, these are like the songs we create that will be sung at the campfire. And I think that's what we have to find, like these common campfire songs. With everyone, we empathize. But that's a big but. And that's something I want to like pinpoint. You said you feel it as a leader. And for me, that's a really general assumption, which I would totally disagree with. I would say only a very small part of the leaders that are out there, which call them more managers, they really feel what's going on.
I can just speak for myself. So when you are leading a transformation as such, and you have the people around you, first of all, reacting to the first part of your comment, I think the belongingness, that I do belong to this team. However, we plan to do things differently. So this is what I emphasized with having lunch with him, with listening to his pain, understanding where he comes from, why he comes from there. But at the same time, showing that I'm coming maybe from the same ground. Then coming to leaders, it's not so easy with fellow leaders. We actually had at that time a lunch with Scrum Master, and we had some quite heated discussions there. Like, why are you doing it like that? Why are you not doing it like that? So in the transformation, we were responsible as Scrum Masters for our transformation in our teams. And for the development Scrum Master, I don't want to take away their trophy, but they have a really well-oiled change mechanism, don't they? They have the 14-day sprints, they have their backlog requirement, they have then the demo, they have then the planning for the next sprint. So they have their ceremonies very well set by agile methodologies. For an operations team or engineering team, this is very different. We try to go along with this process. We failed miserably because an operations team cannot keep the same cadence. They have also ad hoc to-dos. We have to now reinstall Windows. We have to now look at the certificates. We have to add some RAM here and there. We have to look at the data center failover. It has nothing to do with the features. It has nothing to do with the rollouts, but they still have to do it. And I haven't talked about incidents and problems yet. Now I went a little bit on the side, but basically sharing with a fellow other leaders in other teams and sharing experiences. I also experienced that the pain we went through in operation in engineering is very different from a development team leadership. And the sensitivity towards that was not very high. So I needed to do also horizontal work when it comes to understanding of the pain of the change for the engineers, because it's a different kind of pain.
So that's, yeah, I hear you. So that's, I would almost say it almost sounds like an excuse when ops says, but we can't work in an agile manner, because I've seen ops working in an agile manner, which worked perfectly, especially because agile gives you a way to like work with complexity and to be adaptive, to like find ways of prioritizing stuff in a better way. I think that's maybe where you said Scrumban might not have been the best thing. You'd also talked about Kanban, where you don't have this like bi-weekly where you're locked in. But that's not what I want to go down this like agile rabbit hole. I want to make an old claim. I'm working with a lot of leaders in different organizations. I train them, I coach them. And I would say, I claim that only 10% of leaders are as capable as you are in leading a transformation. So 9 out of 10 are not able to lead a transformation. Yeah. Oh, that's a bold statement. And I want to tell you why. So when we go through our developments as leaders, we go through different stages. And there's like an expert stage where you are super happy with the code you're generating. There's an achiever phase where we are like looking for trying to achieve goals and our targets. And then there's this catalyst stage where it's about change. It's about empathy. It's about making this bigger picture. And studies have shown that only 10% of leaders are in that catalyst state, which means that if you really want to transform from waterfall to lean or lean ops or DevOps or agile or whatnot, then you need to have one of those 1 out of 10 leaders that is able to like really lead the transformation. Otherwise, it fails. It fails. Have you seen that? Nine. Okay.
Coming back to the lean ops topic, we did end up with Kanban and with the week prioritization. And I agree with you. Lean ops is the best used with agile, but it was a rocky road.
Yeah.
And what I meant with a little bit different from the development transformation is that you have to find your own way in engineering. You have to fine tune. Is it a paper Kanban board? Is it a digital Kanban board? For half a year, they were so happy with paper Kanban board because they could see their papers. You can't believe that. I couldn't have believed that the grown man will be so happy with their post-its. And at the end of the week, we collected the post-its which were ready. And the biggest opposer was always the one who counted the post-its and announced it how many post-its are done. Yeah, so that was a big success for my soul. Yeah, I have seen some leaders who look at me with big eyes when I'm talking about transformation. But we have done that. No, you haven't.
Yeah, no.
Don't see that it happened. And I have also seen people who think that they are leaders, but they are not necessarily maybe in the achiever state, and they achieve some things, but not able to step up and say, okay, this is the way we do it, and let's try it out for 3 weeks. This is the hard to get the people to really say, yeah, okay, let's try it out for 3 weeks, and then regularly go into it and really look what works, what doesn't work.
Yeah, so we don't have to go into more details. But I loved your answer when you said, of course, you have never seen that. I can prove it with data.
Okay, I believe you.
It's actually cool when you said you use Kanban, because we also do a lot of Kanban, because that's the easiest common ground when you maybe even start with it, because you don't have certain roles. You don't need a Scrum Master. You don't need a product owner. You can follow like a minimal structure. So you can keep a lot of the stuff you have done, but you start to change it, like start where you are. Yeah. You start adding a backlog. You start adding maybe a small WIP limit. You start to add flow into it. And these are like really small tweaks. And all of a sudden your team starts to move differently. Yeah. And then gets to the highest heights, if you like, so that there's like really super high performance. When in that journey, and maybe that's the final question, when did you realize that a weekly prioritization the thing to do for you, that you step out of this like constant thing, like this regular cadence that Kanban proclaims, and you said, hey, for us, actually, weekly would be the best thing? What was the moment when you realized, hey, we have to give it some structure to be to keep it alive?
Actually, the team itself, even though it was a very expert team on their area, was not able to prioritize the sheer amount of tasks which were on the board. And I looked into, okay, what can we do? I went to the product owner and I asked him kindly, okay, can you please, and the engineering manager at that time, can you please be at help here? Because the team doesn't know what to do with this. And we tried it out for 2 weeks and the team loved it. Because we had a really good technical product manager who could advise the team, I would do this, I wouldn't do that, let's put it this way. So immediately it was really like magic. It started to work. We had a big paper Kanban board. We gathered there for half an hour, Monday, Tuesday. I don't remember which day it was, at the beginning of the week. And then everybody knew what to do and move around with it. And yeah, it just worked from then on. It came out of the retrospectives, to be honest. I was very strict with the retrospectives from the beginning. That was very painful process, to be honest, because at the beginning, they're only just complaining. Everybody just complains, and you just have to listen to the complaints, and you feel like, you asked me what keeps you awake at night, and that keeps you awake at night. This will never work. But of course, you cannot say that in front of the team. They will never ever experience that this works. These are the times when it's really good to watch some videos where it does work and ask your colleagues, how did you manage and what kind of retrospectives? And I tried to make the retrospectives fun, which kind of toys and games and whatever, that we just don't just give numbers. When it's running, then they can just say, yeah, this retrospective was, this past week was a 3. But at the beginning, it's very important to use different tools, in my opinion, so that the team loosens up, at least for the retrospective.
Awesome. What's the takeaway? So I think we should not hit the 9 out of 10 leaders too hard. What I liked what you say is that was a sentence from the beginning. You said the opposers came out when you stop pushing. So the moment you stopped like pushing for speed and pushing for implementation, that's when you got these like critical voices in the retrospective, and that's when you actually could work with. So I think that's for me the main learning from this episode. To go fast, you have to go slow. I think that's this famous one sentence.
What I would add is that never forget the human factor. We are all humans and we all have our own speed, and your biggest opposers can become your biggest supporters as a leader very easily.
Human factor.
Never forget the human factor.
Krisztina, it was a pleasure talking to you. Thank you very much for your story. I hope you're not getting in trouble with your colleagues. If so, blame it on me. I have the data.
I will.
Hey, take care. Thanks for sharing the story, and yeah, all the best.